Celebrating 4 years of talk like you've never heard it before, this is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Evolution is defined as any process of formation or growth, development, the evolution of a radio program right before your ears. Welcome into The Exchange. It's Rob Alfano, and it's a Wednesday night, a special night, and we'll talk about that in just a few moments. You're going to give us a call on Skype in a little while.
I'm Jim Browning. You're listening to The Exchange. Well, our long national nightmare just may be over. It seems that we are ready to say goodbye to reality television.
Good evening and hello, everybody. Welcome to The Exchange, your safe haven for the free and open exchange of ideas and opinions here on the Great American Broadcast Network every Monday through Friday from 9:30 to 10 Eastern, 6:30 to 7 Western. I'm your host and broker, Damian Chaplin. If you'd like to join the conversation tonight, go ahead and give us a call on Skype. I'm opening the lines right now.
The Exchange, one program, ever evolving. Be a part of evolution. Tuesday through Friday at 9:30 p.m. Damian Chaplin moves you in new directions. Call GabNet Live on Skype at 347-352-0079. The Exchange, the evolution. Tuesday through Friday at 9:30 Eastern, only on GabNet.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard the GabNet Tour bus. Today our tour will take us up and around the newly designed GabNet.net webpage. For your safety, please stay seated while the bus is in motion and enjoy your trip. Also, remember that tipping your tour guide is greatly appreciated. Okay, we're off. The first place of interest that we're going to pass on the top left, you'll see a rotating billboard of all of the great GabNet programs. Legend has it that legendary broadcaster Alex Bennett created this billboard to attract early visitors to GabNet and to lure them into his site. To this day, it's one of the top attractions on our tour. Up next, look over at the top right and you'll see the most recent video of Alex Bennett's Ramble. And if you're lucky enough, we'll see Alex interacting with the citizen panel. Always a tour highlight. Did I mention that tipping your tour guide is greatly appreciated? As we approach the bottom of the Ramble video, we see quick links to all the ways that you can connect with GabNet programs. Facebook Live, YouTube, TuneIn, Livestream, Vimeo, and the GabNet Roku channel. They're all additional stops that you can make if you choose to step off the bus. But remember, please tip your tour guide if you do, and then you can hop on the next bus. Here's another highlight on our tour. On the left side, you'll see GabNet On Demand. You can quickly access any of the most recent programs there. Clearly, a value spot on our tour because downloads are at no extra cost. Please give your attention now to the right side. Look at the how easy it is to become a citizen panelist. By the way, if you're a Luddite, there's a phone number that you can use to dial in. Okay, we're nearing the halfway point on our trip. I certainly hope that you're enjoying it. Oh look, there's the convenient call Skype button that you can click on, which will automatically connect you to the citizen panel. So now we're turning down the center of the page. I don't want you to miss any of these attractions, so please pay attention. Up first is a link to the 24/7 feed. Now these are going to come fast and furious, so pay attention. Next is a quick note on how you can hear GabNet on Amazon Echo. Next, quickly coming behind that, and this is always exciting, a screen that shows Alex Bennett's Ramble when it is live, with a countdown to the next show. It's always fun when we pass and the show is live. We're winding down our tour of GabNet.net, but before we reach our final stop, it's important to note that there is a place for you to contact them with your comments. Let them know how you like GabNet.net and the GabNet programming. And with that, we wrap up our tour. Remember, as you step off the bus, to please be careful. And also remember that GabNet is talk like you've never heard or seen it before. Did I mention, please tip your tour guide?
Celebrating 4 years of talk like you've never heard it before. This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network.
Hey everybody, this is Alex Bennett and this is the Ramble, and we go from now on till midnight Eastern Daylight Time in the United States of America, and we're going to go check in with somebody. Let me just get over here. Okay, let's make a call out to Las Vegas, Nevada. Here we go. Wait a minute. Here we go. Da-da-da. Come on, start ringing already. There we go.
I got nothing funny to open with today because I've been sick as a dog all week. Let's get this over with.
Okay, goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh. Let me start streaming. Okay, and we get going. Okay, let me. Okay. Hold on, everybody. We're going here in just a moment. Hold on. I just have to figure out what I've got to do. Okay? All righty. All right. We're ready to go.
Celebrating 4 years of talk like you've never heard it before. This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Celebrating 4 years.
But hold on, everybody. Let me just stop again. Oh boy, this is just, this is just getting ridiculous. I'm having all kinds of problems tonight. All right, let's get this thing going here. Okay, all right. Yeah, okay. No, got to start again.
Celebrating 4 years of talk like you've never heard it before. This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network.
No, got to stop it again and start all over again. Oh boy, this is ridiculous. This is just maddening. Okay, let me stop.
Celebrating 4 years of talk like you've never heard it before. This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network.
Hey! Hello everybody, this is Alex Bennett and this is the Ramble, and it goes from now until midnight here on the East Coast of the United States. Few problems getting started tonight, but I think we're finally up and running. Oh man, I don't know, for some reason my computer decided to shut itself down in the middle of the opening of the show. Fuck you, Microsoft. It is their fault. It is their problem. Oh man, oh man. Well, let's get on with the show and do something here. Let's see. What should we do? Okay, let's make a call out to Las Vegas, Nevada. Here we go. Wait a minute. Here we go. Da-da-da. Come on, start ringing already. There we go.
I got nothing funny to open with today because I've been sick as a dog all week. Let's get this over with.
Okay, goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, boy.
Oh, man, I caught this fucking thing on Friday. It was horrible. So it was, what do you call it? My doctor said it was an upper respiratory something. So, oh, God, I thought I was getting the flu. Even though I had a flu shot. But I'm getting better now.
That's Stephen Pearl.
Thank you. My muscles don't hurt no more. My chachas is hurting like a chukkah.
Now, wait a minute. Hold on a second.
I've become the old Jewish guy in pain, complaining.
Dr. Bennett is in. Okay?
My filter is my sugar.
So we have to figure out whether this is a cold or it is a flu. All right?
Oh, I've had it looked at already. I had it looked at yesterday, so I know what it is.
Oh.
It's not a flu, and I did have a flu shot in September, although that doesn't really mean anything. And it's not a cold because it's been kicking my ass for longer than a cold does. It's an upper respiratory infection.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's the old flu. You get the muscles hurt and the fucking you can't stand up without wanting to fall on the floor, and you can't taste the smell. It's a load of fun.
You hit the jackpot. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't get
the one on Bennett. I got 3 tombstones.
The good news is the flu shot worked, right?
The flu shot worked. It's not the flu. And my doctor says, don't worry, just get through it. You'll be okay.
So what did he...
She's Japanese, but she talks like that anyway.
Did he give you anything for it, or her, or whatever?
Yeah, she gave me some pills for it. I was on the upswing when I saw her yesterday. But from Friday till the day before... Holy crap. Oh, man, I went 20 rounds with Tyson. It just kicked my ass. It fucked me up bad because you're just sweating and you're cold and you're hot. You feel like you were drawing from heroin and your muscles are killing you and everything. Oh, God damn.
Well, what would you prefer, a flu or a cold?
A cold, by all means.
I would prefer the flu. Because at least with the flu, there isn't a lot of snot coming out of you and all that stuff. You aren't dripping.
There is a pearl flu. Holy crap.
The other one, with the flu, all you can do to get over the flu is just sleep. And that, to me, that's heaven.
Well, here's the best part. Since Friday till, I slept the last night, but from Friday till the night before, I slept about 5 minutes. It was like coming down off like the worst speed you ever had. I couldn't sleep. I was like, if I can just get to sleep, it'll be cool. Even if I never wake up again, it'll be cool.
Well,
let me get to sleep.
The only problem
I couldn't sleep.
Yeah, the only problem with my theory is that the flu can kill you, but a cold won't.
A cold won't kill you. A cold is a pain. A cold is some guy just tap you on the shoulder. Hey, guess what? Hey, guess what? Guess what? Not going away. You want to kill the guy. You get through it. The flu is just, getting mugged. 3 guys in an alley with boxing gloves and hammers and lead pipes. Okay, we're going to really fuck you up now.
You know what? I got to tell you, and this is absolute truth. You've got a guy like Howie Mandel, who is a well-known germaphobe. All right, but he may not be. He may not be wrong, because the way you catch a cold, for instance, is shaking hands. It's not if somebody's got a cold and they sneeze, you're probably not going to get it. But if you shake hands with them, you will. Because
I shake hands with the world, especially if I go to a club. I'm meeting everybody, especially in Vegas.
When it's cold,
shake a lot of hands.
When it's cold season, carry Purell around with you.
Yeah, a lot of people here were getting sick a couple of months ago, and I dodged it, and all of a sudden, bam! We're saving you for last, bro.
Well, you know how you get a cold. You know how it happens. You shake hands with somebody who's been, of course, blowing his nose all day, so he's got the germs on his hands,
scratching their ass and picking their ears.
And now you haven't got it yet because it's just on your hands. But then you do something like scratch your nose or touch your face or the rim of your nose. And then,
it's all over, man.
Wait a minute. And listen to this. The germ then crawls into your nose, all right, and goes into the mucous membrane. And the minute it hits the mucous membrane, game set and match, right? You've got a cold. So here's what you do. I found they came out with this stuff years ago called Coldies. And I know you probably figure, it's just another one of those little things. They're
like fizzies, except they got dope in them.
Coldies work. And here's the reason they work.
They're really Coldies.
Here's what they found. The way you can stop a cold, once you've got it, the way you can minimize it, or if you know you have a chance of getting the cold, the way you can prevent it is by the infusion of zinc. Here's what zinc does.
My pal Zinc.
Zinc, yeah, it sounds like a Disney educational
Your friend
film.
Zinc, a Crown education. This is Zinc.
Yeah. So, but what happens is that the zinc prevents the cold germ from adhering to the membrane. So, if you have a delivery system, but the trouble is zinc tastes horrible. All right. So what they did is they created a delivery system that you could at least put up with, and while it doesn't taste great, Coldies does. And I've done it. I've made a cold go away in 2 days with Coldies.
Wow. I see.
Yeah. So,
I was wondering why the Paul Newman zinc dressing never sold that well.
The zinc dressing never sold that well because people weren't aware it would prevent them from getting a cold. Exactly.
There you go. Paul's just trying to help.
Yeah. Gee, how long?
I'll be coughing my guts out on this one, but here we go.
Yeah, but you don't sound sick. You're peppy and
no,
zippy.
I feel I thought I was, I thought if I was going to get to sleep the last few days, I may not wake up, but that's okay. At least I got to sleep. But I'm on the upswing. I'm strong like blue. I'm still kicking.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember who they said this about, but it was somebody like, I don't know, Gary Cooper, somebody like that. I can't remember who sent this back, but somebody wrote him a telegram, how old Gary Cooper, and he wrote back, old Gary Cooper, fine. I don't think it was Gary Cooper, it was somebody else, but anyway.
Gary Cooper, yep. Okay.
Yeah.
You want to write me? I'll write you.
So,
yep.
The question is, how are you feeling outside of that?
I was pissed because I was the same day. I wanted to go out and frolic, but I was supposed to open for Carl on Saturday, and I got sick on Friday, and I couldn't do it. So I'm doing it again this week. But man, I was disappointed.
Yeah, well, so I was going to ask how old Stephen Pearl, and of course you would reply, Stephen Pearl is okay, but
fine.
No, but how old are you now?
Oh, I'm as old as my tongue and a little bit older than my teeth. Miracle on 34th Street. 63.
63.
I never thought I'd say that.
It's all these.
I never thought I'd get that far.
It's all these kids that I mentored and hung out with and whatever. Turns out they're 63. They're old farts.
They're old farts. Some of them are dead. Just old-timey guys now.
Yeah,
sitting on the porch, get off my lima bean pads, you punks.
Well, I've been saying this lately because I had another friend die, okay? And I go, geez, almighty, is it never going to end? And the answer is, as long as I'm alive, it's going to get worse.
Exactly. Exactly. It's going to get worse, and then one day your name's on the list. Oh, gotta go.
So
a couple of weeks ago, I looked up 2 old high school friends I hadn't spoken to in a while, and I looked them up on the internet, and I found both their obituaries. So, okay, time is marching on.
Yeah. And after a while, you begin to go, well, the reason so many of the people I know are dying is because I'm not.
There you go. They're for the grace of God. I get to see another one.
Exactly. So,
Yeah, it's all right.
I'm happy I'm still alive, although You know, I've always been such a pessimist that I really don't feel I'm living my life to the fullest.
Well, there's always skydiving and dolphin riding, and I've always wanted to do both of those, but I know I never will.
Dolphin riding? I never heard of dolphin riding.
I just ride a dolphin. Oh, yeah, sure.
The only person I ever knew that you know, rode dolphins was Aquaman, you know.
Aquaman could do it, and I think if you pretend you're drowning where dolphins are, one of them will give you a lift to shore. They're that smart.
No, there were two competing underwater guys, weren't there? There was one over at Marvel, and there was one at DC, right? There was Aquaman.
There was always like for every DC hero, there was an opposing Marvel hero.
Well, you know what really got me the other day is they're doing a movie of Captain Marvel with a female.
That's what they tell me. I've heard about that.
All right, but that's not the Captain Marvel you and I knew. What happened was
the Shazam guy.
Well, Marvel. I got this story from my friend Shecky, who knows all about comics. Marvel came out with Captain Marvel, even though there was already a Captain Marvel, because what you now folks call Shazam was Captain Marvel. And that was, it wasn't even DC Comics. It was, I'm trying to remember the comic company, the Fawcett, I think, or somebody like that.
I remember Fawcett, yeah, sure.
Yeah, and they had Captain Marvel, who I remember, Billy Batson, this kid, when he says Shazam becomes Captain Marvel.
That's right.
All right. And what happened is that DC eventually sued Fawcett, I guess it was Fawcett, because they said that Captain Marvel was too close to Superman. And he really was, you know. I mean, he was kind of the, I don't know, the low-rent Superman, maybe? It was the best way to describe.
Yeah, it was like the Superman from the 99-cent store.
Although, as a kid, I liked Captain Marvel because it was a kid like me who every time he said Shazam became Captain Marvel, and I could relate to that, you know. But I couldn't relate to a guy who came from Krypton and had to dress down in order to, you know, not be recognized. In fact, the distinction between Superman and any other superhero is that all the other superheroes either were normal people who like Batman, who did a lot of exercises and then could do what he did, or they had to go through a metamorphosis of some sort to become the superhero. Whereas Superman was always Superman, and what he had to do in order to get along in this world was dress down.
Exactly, pretend he was a nobody.
So even though he's Clark Kent, he's still Superman. See?
Yeah.
Whereas in the case of Billy Batson, he wasn't anything until he said Shazam, which stood for like the wisdom of Solomon, the strength of Hercules, the something of Apollo, the something of Zeus. That's where Shazam comes from. There was a whole list.
I get it. I get it. It's a nice history lesson right there.
Yeah, but anyway, so DC sued and got the rights to Captain Marvel, who they then changed to Shazam. You know. And so now Marvel comes out with a Captain Marvel movie.
I never read a lot of them.
And I'm going, is that the Captain Marvel I know? This is not the Captain Marvel I know. This is Marvel Comics Captain Marvel.
Movie Captain Marvel.
Yeah. I don't know if any of this is interesting you.
A little bit of it, but Superman was lucky that people on Krypton looked like Earthlings. Because if he came down and he had like a green head and antennas and one eye in the center of his head, and then he still tried to fit in as Clark Kent, I think they would have guessed who he was.
Well, I always kind of liked the Superman story. You know, it was just a good, solid story of how he came to be and what he was, and you know.
Yep.
And
it was a great story, and the kids could enjoy it, adults could enjoy it. You know, I used to love the comics when I was a kid. The 12 centers. Yeah, those are amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, but then I'll tell you,
couldn't wait. Every month the new comic would come out.
Who was your favorite? Who was your favorite as you were growing up?
As I was growing up, I liked I liked Archie because it was funny, but of course I liked all the DC stuff. And then all of a sudden, about 66 or so, all my friends started like turning to Marvel comics. We don't like DC anymore. We like Marvel comics. So I started reading Marvel comics, but I still kept reading DC and Superman.
Yeah.
I didn't want to tell anybody.
When I was growing up, I mean, I liked Superman. Who couldn't like Superman? I mean, come on. He's fucking, you know.
Well, the thing I liked about Marvel comics is over DC was Superman and Batman took place in mythical places, Metropolis and Gotham City. Spider-Man took place in New York City, and sometimes you see him swinging by a building that I recognize. There was one comic where I think he was in Far Rockaway because he's swinging by this thing that looks just like my grandmother's house.
Well,
Spider-Man's in Far Rockaway. I bought Ash there once.
Actually, didn't all the Marvel comics take place in New York? Most of them?
Yeah, it was all New York. Yeah, there was all. I think it was with Spider-Man. I don't know where Fantastic Four took place. Maybe. I don't know, but I remember Spider-Man was specifically New York City.
Well, Superman...
Which I thought was cool, but it's a real place, and I can relate, because this is a real place, and I live here. So but I might see Spider-Man swing by one night. I could wave to him or something.
Superman was Metropolis, and then Batman was
that's make-believe. Yeah, it's fun. It's make-believe, though, but then you get into... The Marvels were grittier. I thought, and I just like the way they were drawn
I always thought of Gotham though as New York because Gotham was always the other name for New York that people use. They always refer to it as Gotham.
The Metropolis, of course.
Yeah,
it was like a generic New York. And Spider-Man, it was New York, man. You know, you might see him go by the Fillmore East or something. I
think I liked Batman over Superman when push came to shove. Because
it was darker.
Well, in the old days, it wasn't particularly dark. It was kind of like really comic booky. I remember a cover of Batman, you know, running over the top of a huge giant typewriter. You know, things like typewriter. And you know, it had that feel to it. But it wasn't until they came up with the Dark Knight concept that they suddenly made it very dark and made the whole history of Batman very dark. And it's remained dark ever since. That's the one that they like portraying. That's the one you've got on Gotham, the TV show, which I love. And that's the way they've done the movies lately. But if you go back to the Tim Burton Batman, that was more the cartoony Batman. You know, that wasn't the Dark Knight concept.
Yeah, I stopped following the comics by the time it was the Dark Knight shit and everything. But
now you liked Archie,
like 11, 12, stuff like that.
You liked Archie?
Yeah, I liked Archie. Until he formed this band, the Archies. He goes, "Oh, these guys suck, man. I'm not going to read Archie anymore." I liked Archie. I like Jughead and dug his hamburgers.
Now, have you seen the latest incarnation of that on a TV show?
No, I've heard it. I didn't even hear about it until what's his name just died. Luke Perry died because he was on the show.
I watched it.
No, I didn't know that. I never even know there was an Archie show on.
I watch
it. It's not the Archie I remember.
No, this is the Dark Archie. Okay.
Dark Archie. It doesn't even have the checkers in his head, man.
The thing is that you probably got too old for this, but they did reimagine Archie in the comic books as being much darker, much more not looking comic booky like he looked before. And so this TV version of Riverdale is the dark version of Archie, and you know, they're all very believable. I mean, Jughead is believable, and they killed off Mrs. Grundy.
That's about time. She was 198.
Well, no, in this one, Mrs. Grundy was a hot 30-year-old.
They've changed everything, man.
And I believe in it, she had sex with Archie.
So, what are they doing in the Archie? I knew. Mrs. Grundy, I knew was like an old lady. It was Jughead dressed up as an old lady with the same face.
And they don't really
white hair in the bun
and you know Veronica and what's her name, Betty and Veronica were always arch enemies. You know, because they were all hot after Archie.
They wanted Archie.
Yeah, and in this one they're actually friends. You know. And both of them at one time or another went with Archie. And right now he's going with Josie of Josie and the Pussycats.
Veronica's a lesbian, Teddy's into leather, and
is this destroying your youth? what I'm
It's
telling you.
just blowing it up at the bits. They just let it crumble like a.
Well, I hated Archie.
Oh, what have they done to the Archie? I love it. There's crack houses in Riverdale now.
I hated.
Like gang country
Well, I
now.
hated Archie comics, and when I heard they were going to do Archie and do Riverdale, I went. I can't watch that. And then I watched one episode, and I said, now they're doing it right. Now this is the way it should be.
Dark Archie.
Real hot. Which Betty or Veronica? Which one were you hot for?
Oh, they were the same girl, but one was blonde and one had black hair. I like Betty. I always like Betty better.
Really?
Veronica was rich. Veronica had the dough, and you would have had a good life if you married her, except for her nagging. But Betty would have killed for you though. So I like Betty's personality better. But
I like Veronica because I think that she was accessible. I could have her.
Well, nobody can have her because she's a cartoon. So fucking Jessica Rabbit. You can't do it.
Yeah, but it's
find a real girl named Veronica. There are plenty of them.
I married one. My second wife was Ronnie. Veronica.
Oh, there you go. You were with a Veronica. You had a Veronica.
Veronica.
I don't think I've ever known a girl named Veronica.
Well, I married one, so there.
Oh, there you go.
Of course, we never called her. We never called her Veronica. We called her Ronnie. Okay.
Ronnie, yes.
And that's what they call her on Riverdale. They call her Ronnie.
Yeah, Ronnie for short, I guess. Even though it's the same amount of letters.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
And Jug,
I don't know this new Riverdale.
And Jughead is a writer, and he kind of narrates the whole thing, And
does he wear the crown? Is he
no.
Because I remember
No. He wears a cap.
What are they doing? They're fucking everything up, and it screws up all my arrangements.
Well, he wears a hat.
Alone.
He wears a hat, but the hat he wears kind of looks like the crown thing, but it's not. They did do an opening on this show once, which was like a dream sequence in which all the characters were as they were in those original comic books. I mean,
should be.
Jughead walks in wearing that crown, and
that whirring sound you hear was Bob Montana spinning in his grave.
But now we lost Archie's father because the actor died.
Well, they got to find out who Archie's father. Archie's going to be a one-parent kid. So
yeah, and that's terrible.
You never know what's going to happen in the wacky world of Hollywood. 52-year-old gets a stroke.
Anyway, so what else is new in the wonderful life of since we
Nothing,
spent most of this time
just
talking
waiting to die. Some people go to Miami. Some people come out here. I'm doing shows, and one day, I just won't wake up anymore. But right now, I'm having fun.
Well, people
it's
say
raining, it's crappy out right now. I'm staying in with the cats. Nina's still in California, and I got nothing to do today except hopefully recover by the weekend.
Well, what I'm sick about life is I used to have stuff to look forward to, and now the only thing I have to look forward to is death.
There you go. I got a couple of shows and then death. That's what I'm looking forward to this weekend.
Yeah. Do you want to die on stage? Would you like that? Would you like what happened to
whatever happens to me?
Sean?
I would love to be dead before I hit the ground, like Bing Crosby. Bing Crosby had the best death ever. Unless you go in your sleep, you're golfing, man. You're having fun with you, and he finished the game. He goes, "It was a great game," and then he's dead.
Yeah, it was a massive heart attack. It just felled him.
He probably just was going through the tunnel before he started falling over.
Then you have the Luke Perry. But then you have the Luke Perry.
On the bat with a baseball bat.
Then you have the Luke Perry factor, in which he didn't. Oh well. So that's our interview. It was almost over with anyway, but I accidentally pushed something here and it stopped it. I mean, I could start the interview over again, but I'm not going to do that. So anyway, where are we? Everything is so fucked up tonight. I don't have the will to go on, to tell you the damn truth. No, I touched something here and it fucked up. And now I've got to start my Skype. Let's hope it works. Oh, there it is. Thank goodness. Oh, my God. Something, well, we don't know yet. Something works. And it's the one thing you don't expect to work, and that's Skype. anyway, I've been having all kinds of problems tonight. As I was signing out, I don't know what it is. I touched something or something. I don't know what it was, but all of a sudden it says your computer is shutting down. This was when I started the Pearl interview, and it said your computer is shutting down. So then it said be sure to turn off OBS or whatever. Anyway, I didn't let it do that, and it went back to its main screen. But in the meantime, everything else had stopped. Everything had stopped. And I had to, restart it all over again. And then I had to start the show over again. So you people who are going to watch the version of the live program on YouTube, you're going to see the starting and the stopping and all the kind of things like that, and that's what that was all about. But finally, we got on, and then at the very end of this interview, I hit something on my what do you call it, on my keyboard, and all of a sudden, we lost the end of the Pearl interview. But it was only about a minute to go. So, hello, Tom Yamaguchi. Hello. Charlie, anybody want to wind up doing this show for me tonight? I'm exhausted. No, it's just I've had so many technical problems in the last I guess we could say week. I don't know. And today it was just one technical fire after another that I had to keep putting out, and I'm exhausted. I'm just absolutely exhausted. And on top of that, Damien couldn't do his show tonight because he has some kind of intruder on the property where he works, and he had to take care of that. And then let's see here, what else was happening? So that, we're talking about. He didn't do a show, so then I had to take his show off the on-demand list, and I had, it's one thing after another. It's just a clusterfuck tonight. And then when I tried to get on, everything went wrong, and I'm so flummoxed these days and so exhausted from all that. I had all my audio go out today here, and I couldn't figure out how to fix it, and all of a sudden it fixed itself. I mean, I'm just, I'm just putting out one technical fire after another, and that's my whole life now, and I can't stand it any longer. So.
Well, you had to balance my day. It was such a wonderful day for me.
Was it really?
Yeah.
What was wonderful about it? Tell me something.
Just gorgeous weather. 80 degrees, not a cloud in the sky. About 20% humidity. I mean, it was just beautiful.
Just beautiful. Yeah. Well, I didn't even go out at all, and then we had a sunny day here, but we didn't have the heat. We didn't have the heat. So what the hell. But anyway, so how are you, Tom? Haven't talked to you in a while.
Yeah. Well, I'm doing all right. We started out with rain today, but it was sunny by the time the afternoon came by. Yeah. So it was pretty good. Yeah. One thing I should mention.
Hello to Jeff. You're in Florida right now?
I'm in Georgia today.
Georgia today. Okay. Anyway, what were you saying, Tom?
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Tom?
Oh, I was saying I've told my Bob Montana story before. Yeah. Because when Stephen Pearl said about Bob Montana turning over in his grave, I don't think so. I think Bob Montana would be very, very pleased with what's all going on with Archie. And the story that I've told you before is I had a friend whose father was a cartoonist.
Wait a minute, who was Bob Montana?
Who drew Archie.
He drew Archie. See, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Bob Montana drew Archie, and so I have a friend whose father did a comic strip called Marmaduke, and so he used to go all these comic conventions with him. And so one time, he goes and he meets Bob Montana, and Montana somehow says to him, my wife and I a number of years ago were wondering what's this with all these kids smoking pot. So we decided that we were going to try it. And we tried it, and we liked it, and we've been smoking it ever since. True story.
Wow. So anyway, yeah, I'm sorry you didn't get to hear the end of Pearl's interview, but it was something like, "See you next time." So I mean, but for some reason I pushed something and it was not the thing I should have pushed, and boom, crazy. Oh, here comes Vernon Nunn. Ah, yes, there's his, and his little dog. Wait a minute. There he is. Here he comes. He should pop in any minute now. His what do you call it? His connection is a little slow. There we go. And he's lying there looking very, very comfortable. Hello there, Vernon. Yeah. Howdy. And of course we didn't say hello to Josh Wheeler, who's right over there, folks. You can see him. Hello. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Fine. Tonight's a feel-free night, so everybody enjoy yourselves. There's nobody here to give us a bad time about the fact that we have a president who's literally going off the rails. I mean, we thought he was bad before. I said last night that he is acting like, and I know he doesn't drink. That I know. Yeah. Okay? But he's acting like a drunk. Yeah. All these tweets are crazy. I mean, how... okay, so he does a tweet about John McCain. Okay, now let it lie? But no, he has to compound it and compound it and compound it. And now Republican senators are getting a little miffed by this whole deal. Because they like John McCain. Even if they were Democrats and he was a Republican, they liked him. He was one of the most well-liked guys in the Senate. And so when you go after him, you're just, you're losing it, pal.
Yeah.
I think maybe it's time for him to have a little shrink come in and give him an exam. Because I think he's a dangerous man right now because he's not well. Am I overstating this?
No, not at all. I mean, the danger that we've always had is trying to normalize him. Mm-hmm. I mean, when you say, well, let's not, let's just that's him. Let's ignore him. And this is what happens when you try to pretend that everything is okay.
Yeah,
it's not okay. We are really in deep stuff.
Yeah, we're in deep shit. Yeah, no, there's no question about it. When he became president, everybody was going, "Oh, woe is me! This is going to happen. That's going to happen." And I went, "Cool it. How much can one man destroy this country?" Yeah. Well, that was the misunderstatement of my lifetime. Because I mean, if anybody, I often joke about the fact that he's a businessman, and what I think he's trying to do is burn down the country and then get the insurance money. If I didn't know better, I think that's what he was doing. He does everything he can to fuck everything up. I don't know what's going through his little mind. So, so I'm not overly sick about this. Okay. Yes, Tom.
Well, there's one theory that the reason why he's going off on all these things like John McCain, all that, is he's trying to divert attention from other things like the Mueller investigation and the white supremacist shooting in New Zealand. And maybe that's possible, but I think he's just not even thinking. He's just so impulsive.
Yeah.
That he doesn't give any thought as to, he just latches onto something and he just doesn't let go, or he's just all over the map, and that's him. That's him.
Well, it's easy to say, we say that's him, but it's getting scary,
No, I didn't try. I wasn't trying to minimize it. I'm just saying that to say that he's got, the three-dimensional chess thing. I don't think that's happening. I think he's just whacked out.
He can't even do one-dimensional chess.
Yeah, I mean, no, I think he's not well, and I think a lot of the Republicans are starting to worry about him. But what's his name from Utah, who ran for president?
Mitt Romney.
Mitt Romney. He's been saying that he's a little disturbed by this, but he hasn't really been saying it. He's been kind of parsing it, you know? And he really, of all the people there who should come out against Trump, it should be him. You know, I mean, Trump wasn't too terribly kind to him when he was running for office. He had terrible things to say about him. And all of a sudden, Mitt Romney is kind of like parsing his words and going, well, you know, maybe he'll get better. And, you know, we should, fuck you, Mitt. You know, we need more Republicans to finally say we're fed up with this. You know, and unless you straighten up and fly right, we're not going to vote for your shit.
Well, that's my problem with Mitt Romney. It's like, do you expect me to respect a guy like that, even though he seems like a decent human being and a respectable person? But I've lost all for him because we've talked about this many times. If you just remove Donald Trump from the equation, and the same exact words that came out of his mouth would have come out of Barack Obama's mouth, Mitt Romney would be on Meet the Press, George Stephanopoulos, Hardball. He would be on every television program that he could possibly, whore himself out to, and they would be coining the phrase, King Obama, the dictator, he's gone, the mad king. I mean, am I not correct?
Oh, absolutely.
Or do I just see it differently?
Absolutely. There's no question. And the fact is, it's kind of interesting. Barack Obama has been very quiet about all of this. He's been very presidential in not commenting on a former president's actions. And that's what you're supposed to do. Am I right, Josh, that you're not presidents are not supposed to speak ill of the newer presidents, right?
It's not typical, right?
Yeah. So he's been very good, but I bet he sits at home going, I really want to say something. I really want to say something.
Yeah, and I would like to eat dinner or attend or just, I guess, sit off to the side of the private TV dinners that they eat at their little table with Bill and Hillary. I mean, would that not be as they sit there and watch the evening news and eat their little,
Well, if I were Hillary,
chicken she made in the oven.
If I were, yeah, like the dinner she made in the oven, sure. She couldn't even bake an election. Okay, so anyway, I think that she's got to feel terrible, and the reason she's got to feel terrible is because she has to sit there and watch this shit going on and saying, "I lost to that." I mean, now of course we're going to say he didn't lose. She didn't lose. Today he went, I got 67 million votes, and I yelled at my TV, said, yeah, and Hillary got 70. I mean, so what if you got 68, 67 million or whatever asshole number you come up with? Doesn't matter. Doesn't mean shit to a tree.
Yeah.
You have literally screwed up, my friend. It is
I just hate I know it's an overplayed word and everything, but it's true. I just hate the hypocrisy from some of the Republican Party. I mean, if there could possibly be a modern day Benedict Arnold, Lindsey Graham would leap from the chair to play that fucking part. I mean, it's just like, oh, you mean there's another side I can join? Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't understand. I mean,
well, did you hear?
I thought John McCain was a friend of his, but apparently he wasn't that good of a friend.
No, but was it Lindsey Graham today who had something to say about saying, well, this is not one of Donald Trump's finest hours, I think is how he put it.
That's, that's like saying you got drunk and called someone on the phone and said something you shouldn't say.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
then he completed that. He completed that. You know, he was pretty much saying, "Hey, this is not good." But then he came back and said, "But I'm going to support him in everything he needs."
Yeah.
Well, you know, I mean, did you have to say that? Why did you just do that? You know,
Yeah.
you didn't. You could have just rebuked him and said, "Listen, you know, he's speaking ill of a friend of mine, of a man." In fact, I think Lindsey Graham and John McCain were very close to each other.
Yeah.
that was what I always understood, was they spent quite a lot of time together. But I mean, apparently it didn't mean enough to Lindsey Graham to keep him from, you know, selling his soul to the fucking devil, because it didn't take him 15 minutes after John McCain died and he turned into a totally new person. So, you know, I mean, that's just what I've seen. I mean, I think ever since McCain passed away, Lindsey Graham has, you know, started the quick turn to he pretty much supports anything Donald Trump says. I mean, you know, Donald Trump could come out and say, "I'd like to bomb San Francisco," and Lindsey Graham would be like, "Hey, you know, we've got to do what we got to do."
Well, why are they doing this, though? That's the question.
I have no answer for
well,
that.
my only answer to that is they're afraid of the power of Donald Trump, that he has enough of a base that they don't want to screw up that base that he has. And I think they're overestimating the base. Because I think that the way things are going now, especially this latest McCain tirade, even the diehard Trump people, not necessarily, they can't really excuse that. You know, I mean, in many ways, I wish Phil was here tonight to excuse that for us. I'd like to hear his excuse for that. There is no excuse for what he did. Yes, Tom.
Well, I've got a little part of the explanation. I'm still getting Republican emails, fundraising emails, because in 2012 I registered to vote Republican for the presidential primaries.
Well, you're one of those, huh? You're one of those, huh?
Yeah, I did. I voted for Fred Carger.
Yeah.
Anyway, this latest email I got from Lindsey Graham says, the United States Senate voted against President Trump's national emergency to build the wall and protect our border. I stood with the president and supported his declaration, but I would like to know your opinion. Do you support President Trump's national emergency? And then I'm probably, if I respond, I said, there is no national emergency, so it can't be answered yes or no. So basically what they're doing is they're using, they're raising money on it. I mean, they as long as they can continue to raise money off this, this cult of Trump. And I've said it before, we don't have a Republican Party anymore. What we have is the Party of Trump, POT. That's what it is. And all these people have sold out, including Lindsey Graham and
I don't know that I agree with you that it's the party.
They've all sold out.
I don't know that I wouldn't necessarily say it's the party of Trump, but it's the party of something. It's the party of expediency. Because if Trump weren't president and it was another guy, they'd be, and he was a Republican, they'd be saying how wonderful he was.
Well, it's not a conservative party anymore if they follow Trump. Well, I mean, he's a protectionist.
Well, I think this is the problem though with both parties. Okay, is that they root for the home team and they don't sometimes become critical of their own home team when somebody on the home team does something wrong. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like, for instance, one of the things that I guess you remember over at Sirius with me and Obama is that I was critical of Obama.
Well, you were the only one that Sirius was critical of Obama.
Yeah, but I was probably the only one on Sirius left who was. Huh?
A whole bunch of hosts that were critical of Obama, especially when it came to the drones, the deportations. Mm-hmm. Sure, yeah. A lot of them.
Well, all I'm saying is that I feel that the parties stick up for their own kind now. Trump could go kill somebody on Fifth Avenue like he said, and the Republicans would be going, that's just Donald. Yes, Charlie.
I would disagree with you partly on that, because the Democrats will rag on progressives far more than they will on Republicans. So, I mean, it's not that they just attack the Republicans.
Is it at this point, while they're in the nomination phase of everything, but that once they get a person who is going to be the standard bearer, they will back him without question?
Well, I sure will.
I'll vote for whoever it is.
Then
but I think you're correct in the point, though, but not to the point that we're seeing with Republican Party members and Trump, for example.
Right.
Because, I mean, I think you're right about what you're saying. If Trump shot someone in the middle of Fifth Avenue, at first, Rudy Giuliani would deny it. No, he didn't shoot anybody. And then the next day he would say, well, he shot the guy, but it was in self-defense.
Yeah.
I mean, it would just evolve into this. I mean, and I think Democrats, at least from what I've noticed, would at least be like, our guy shot that guy. We got to get rid of him. I mean,
yeah.
I just don't understand.
Fucking common sense.
Yeah.
Yes, Jeff.
I think Hillary is a good example of the Democrats who are unhappy with her, even when we were voting for her.
Yeah, but we stood with her.
She was a difficult person, I think.
Well, I
think a lot of other people feel
I stood with her when she was running, saying that, who else am I going to vote for? Am I going to throw my vote away? That I'm going to go in there and I'm going to hold my nose and I'm going to pull the lever for Hillary, because that's what I got to do. Although it doesn't really matter. You see, this goes back to me and my whole electoral college bullshit, in that my vote isn't counted. My vote is simply mushed in with a whole bunch of other votes, and then it comes out to a total of 89 votes or something here in the state of New York, or whatever the electoral college vote is. That I'm not, it's not like when I go and I vote for the mayor, and the mayor this person got so many votes and the other person got so many votes, and the person who got the most votes wins. It's that my vote for Hillary, or anybody for that matter, didn't matter, because it was being condensed into just this small amount of people and it was a winner-take-all state where, whoever got the most votes in New York was going to get the electoral votes from this state. And we all knew there was no way Hillary was going to lose New York. She would have to bare her left hip in public to lose, and then she probably wouldn't lose, although it would not be a pretty sight. Yes, Tom.
Well, I have the same dilemma in California, but what I, basically, for me, I actually, that's the reason why I went ahead and worked on the campaign, because I just wasn't going to sit down and just sit around and just vote because I voted. There's, I gave a donation, but more than that, I was actually making phone calls to other states. There was a whole bunch of us that made phone calls in other states, and I'll tell you the truth. Night after night, in this headquarters up in nearby, most of the volunteers were women, and they were just so excited to have a woman presidential candidate. But we were just constantly calling, and I plan to do the same thing in the next election. I mean, we can't do just vote. We actually have to get active.
Let me throw this out to you, because I'm watching. I was watching MSNBC today, and as usual, they were, they're handicapping the Democratic race. And I'm going, Jesus, we still got a year and 3/4 left before an election.
Turn them off.
But anyway,
turn them off.
They're handicapping it and so on, and then they're going, what was the point I was going to make? I forgot what I was going to say. I got so wrapped up in leading up to it. God, it was something about, they got into the whole thing about the Electoral College, and we should do away with it. And we all agree with that. So how come? How come it still exists? Yes, Vernon.
No, Vernon, yes.
It still exists because the constitutional amendment that would be required to do away with it is not going to happen in the current political environment.
Yeah. Okay. Charlie?
Well, there is a way you can get around that, and that is that you have the Electoral College, but California voted to have all of their electoral votes go to whoever wins the popular majority.
In fact, there's a whole bunch of states.
Is California a state?
You don't have to have an amendment. All you have to do is agree that from now on, our state's going to vote. Because the Electoral College literally can vote any way they want. They are not required.
Oh, no. They can go to Washington and vote for Tom Yamaguchi if they wanted to.
And it's just that the states themselves passed the law that says that we have to
wait a minute.
Whoever wins our state.
Did you say in California or Arizona they're doing that?
California. California is one that I know about. I think New York.
Well, what are they saying? The winner will get all the electoral votes?
12 states plus the District of Columbia. 12 states plus the District of Columbia have passed that law.
Now, what happens?
Whoever wins the popular vote. Like Hillary would have gotten all of the electoral votes regardless because she won the popular vote.
But in California, isn't it a winner-takes-all state? I mean, New York is.
Yeah, but which way it goes depends. The way it goes now is the winner takes all. Whoever won that state, so you can win that state by one vote. You get all the Electoral College votes.
Oh, so what they're saying is nationally, if Hillary were
nationally, whoever gets the majority of the votes get that state's electoral votes. And 12 states have already voted.
Why don't we just do away with that and just count fucking votes?
Because that
would make sense.
That takes a constitutional
amendment.
That'll work.
This is something I brought up before, Alex.
Yeah.
And that's the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact. Mm-hmm. And what that Interstate Compact is to try to get enough states to pass this law, which the Constitution allows individual states to decide how they're going to select their electors.
So that's the way they would solve it.
It does not go into effect, though, until enough states pass this law so that 270 electoral votes are in play. Yeah, otherwise, the way the law is right now is the way it's going to be. But until enough states pass the NPVIC, when 270 electoral votes are in play, then the national popular vote is going to decide who's president.
Because what I've been saying, the last couple of nights on this program, and I will, of course, say it again until I'm blue in the face, and that is that I think we got to do away with the Electoral College, but besides that, I think we should do away with primaries. I don't think primaries serve any purpose. I think we should do it like they used to do it. I don't know, when were the first primaries? Do you know, Josh, at all? They were like in the last century. It wasn't
primaries.
Like in the 20s or 30s, maybe?
Probably sometime a little after that, I think. Yeah.
Okay, so
I don't know the answer.
So before that, they would go and hold a convention, and the 20 people that want the job are all fighting for it on the floor of the convention, and there's something like 30 votes they take before they finally come up with their standard bearer, and then they say, here he is. You either vote for him or don't, And that way, to begin with, how many millions of dollars does each state spend in just the process of doing a primary, which only serves the function of helping out these parties figure out who their candidate's going to be?
Yeah, I mean, prior to what you're talking about, there was even a time where it was considered improper to campaign for the nomination to be your party's representative, on the ticket. It was, it was kind of considered and proper to seem like you wanted the job. You know, I mean, the presidency was always thought of a job. You know, a good man would take it. You know, because he was, you know, the right man for the job. But if you wanted it, you were kind of seen as, you know, over ambitious, right?
Well, if we did away with the if we did away with the primaries, we could start the whole electoral process, say, sometime in January or February, in which everybody says who wants to be running for their party. And then they're going to get a bunch of people together, and they're going to go to the convention, and they're going to start on the floor of the convention. They're going to start fighting for each other, and then they're going to take one vote, and nobody wins, 2 votes, 3 votes. Sometimes I hear in the history of these conventions, there have been up to like 30 votes or something before they came up with a person to run.
I think there've been more than that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, I could be wrong. I'm just saying what I seem to remember.
Yeah, I don't know what the most ever or anything was, but I seem to remember cases where there was even more. You know, where the convention, as we would think of it now, you know, went on for, you know, days and days.
Well, the conventions were all 5 days long. Now they're down to what, 4?
I don't know.
And one of those days is taken up with festivities.
Right.
Yeah.
It's something like that. I mean, I usually have it on, but I only pay attention when Scarlett Johansson and Eva Longoria.
Yeah, well, I certainly can. I sympathize with you. Okay, but I mean, the point I'm making is that I think that the whole primary. Then once we get the conventions and they have their standard bearers, then we have maybe a 3-month campaigning period, in which they do all their campaigning and they go out and they make their case, and then we have election day. Mm-hmm. But to do this for what? 2 years prior to the next election, that 50% of our time is taken up with this process is absolutely absurd. Yes, Tom.
Well, I disagree with you about getting rid of the primaries, but I definitely agree with you that the process is way too long. I think we can have primaries and really shorten the season, but I think that I have a couple theories on how that ended up happening, and one of them is money. That it costs a lot of money to run for president, and so there's a natural inclination to start earlier and earlier, and Citizens United has even made it worse. Mm-hmm. So candidates have to get out and start early. And then the other thing that I've noticed too is the change of the media. I mean, we have a more national media going on, and so there's less like newspapers, particularly local newspapers, local TV and radio stations. They're struggling and being replaced by entities like MSNBC and Fox and CNN. And what are they going to do? Are they going to spend time on, let's say, a state legislator race in Idaho or something like that, or a congressional seat in Michigan? No, they're going to focus on where all the voters are focused on, and that is the presidential election, right?
Yeah.
So that's a couple real implements for.
But why is it you're wedded to the primary system? I mean, yes, in your lifetime there have been primaries, but they didn't start till maybe the 20s or 30s, or maybe even into the 40s. We'd have to look it up, but it was not the order of the day. It was not the way we did business all the time.
Well, sometimes you can do things better.
But what the primaries here's what the primaries have done. Number one, they cost the states a fortune, because they have to hold the elections, and they have to have people manning those elections, and they have to count the votes and everything like that. On top of that, you've got people spending immense fortunes just to do advertising and politicking in that state, politicking in that state. Okay, so I mean, if we do away with all that, we'll start saving some money here. You know, I mean, there's just when we talk about the fact that now to win a presidency is going to cost $1 billion, how much of that is the primaries? You know?
Am I wrong? But I think, aren't there some European countries that basically do their top ticket type of elections in a very short? I mean, you can't campaign for it outside of certain time frames, correct?
England, I think I may be wrong. Great Britain, I think it's a 3-month window. I believe.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, and that's it. You know, that, and every now and then you have a vote of confidence happen. You know, which Theresa may be up against now. You know, but
we could use that here.
We could use that here, but he'd have
tomorrow's fine.
Tomorrow's fine. Yes, Tom.
Yeah, week.
Wait a minute. Well, welcome to Kevin. By the way, how's the thing working for you?
The back. They haven't turned it on yet.
Oh, they haven't turned it on yet. Okay. Well, then we won't feel sorry for you or happy for you till they turn it on.
The 25th.
Oh, okay. And what happens if you don't pay your bill? They turn it off.
Yeah, I guess.
That's the new modern medicine, folks. Yeah, pay us or we'll turn it off. Yes, Tom.
Exactly.
Tom.
Like a cable bill.
Kevin, you're still stapled, right?
Yeah, I'm still stapled up. I just went to the doctor today.
Yeah.
It looks good.
Yeah.
So far.
Yeah. Yes, Tom, you had your hand up there earlier.
Well, just to answer your questions earlier about the primaries, I do want to have a say on who I get to vote for in November. And there's a lot of people that can come out of nowhere, like Jimmy Carter or Barack Obama.
Can I ask you a question, Tom?
That don't have the necessarily the establishment behind them.
Can I ask you a question, Tom?
Sure.
In the last presidential primary in California, who'd you vote for?
I did vote for, let's see, that was 2016.
Yeah.
I did vote for Hillary Clinton.
You voted for Hillary Clinton in the primary? How did that go for you?
Well, as I said, I thought she was the best candidate. I really thought she would make a great president. And I would do it again. As I said, I worked for her campaign.
Yeah.
I really think that things would be a lot different if she had won. I wish I had been able to do more.
All I'm saying is,
I was so really frustrated on the phone because I said, there's only one thing that's going to defeat us, and that's complacency.
Let's put it this way.
And that's the case. We were defeated by complacency.
Okay, but wait a minute. Yeah. But hold on a second. And I don't think we were defeated by complacency because she got 3 million more votes than Trump did. So people did get out and vote for her. Okay.
No, not enough. Not enough.
Not in Wisconsin.
Especially in the states up in the upper Midwest. A lot of people, they stayed home. They voted for Jill Stein. They just didn't realize.
How do you feel? How do you feel? How do you feel about the Jill Steins of the world, who are kind of spoilers in a way? I mean, I know that people will argue with me. Oh well, we need to have that, and I agree. I wish we had 10 people running, and then it was boiled down to 2, and then we voted for those 2, like they do in Europe. Yeah. But that isn't the way we do it here. So whoever is that person like Jill Stein that all the Illuminati decide they're going to vote for because it's a hip thing to do, are really the people who put Trump in office.
Well, one of the problems that we had was our side didn't take the Supreme Court as seriously as their side. They knew the Supreme Court was on the line, and they got out. And so, talk about holding your nose in voting.
Yeah,
I think all the Republicans fell in line, and they knew that how important the court was, and they were going to line up with Trump. And that's what made the difference. We didn't take the election seriously enough. And hopefully that'll change in 2020.
Well, we didn't take the election seriously enough. I do think we did. Although I got to tell you, there was a certain complacency in this respect that nobody figured Trump could win. Okay, that's where the complacency was, and that.
Well, that's exactly what I was talking about.
I remember my wife the election night. I went in around midnight. And she was kind of, she was in and out of sleep, and she woke up and she looked at me and she said, "Has anybody won yet?" And I said, "Yes." She said, "Who?" I said, "Trump." And her first words are, "Oh my God." I mean, that's not the thing we expected that night. We gave America more credit for intelligence than they have. We figured, they're not going to vote for him. He's a clown. But that clown is now our president, and he's made the best of over 2 years he's been in office in just making our lives a living fucking hell.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's tax rate is higher than it was because he was cutting the tax rate back. The air is not as clean as it was. And our commitment to that sort of thing in this world is completely gone. I mean, he's ruined our relationship with the rest of the world. They look upon us as a goddamn clown show. So it's amazing how in a short amount of time he's managed to do the damage he has done. And I didn't think it was possible. As I said, well, what damage? How much damage could he really do? And the answer is very apparent. We can start listing it now.
We wasted 4 years not doing anything about climate change.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I love? I love the kids today because they've been holding these demonstrations on climate. And what they were saying is pretty good, is they're saying, you don't have to live with this. We're going to have to.
Yep.
And what you're doing essentially is you're killing your children.
Yep.
So, I mean,
my kid's one of them.
Huh? Yeah.
My kid's one of them.
Yep. So, you just wonder, what those kids are it was who was somebody's kid we had on the other day that we were talking to. It was what's his name?
It was Dave, wasn't it Dave?
Dave who called up with his kid. And I said to the kid, what do you think about this world you're getting? And she even, at her age, knew it was a terrible thing.
She reminded me of my daughter.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Would your daughter say the same thing?
Yep, same thing.
What kind of fucking world are you handing us?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I want her to be involved in this stuff and know what's going on, and she understands what's going on.
How old is she?
She's 14 now.
14 now. Yes, Vernon.
Yep.
Vernon.
The mayor from South Bend was on Morning Joe this morning, and they were asking him about why he wants to be president, and he had a very good answer, I thought. He said, "I'm concerned about 2054. And they said, 2054? He said, yeah, that's when I'm the age of the current president, what the world's going to be like.
Yep.
Buttigieg. Buttigieg?
Yeah. Buttigieg. Yeah.
Yeah. Another name we can't pronounce. Yes, Tony.
Here's a question, though. I would have thought the generation of the 60s had it harder. People had no rights. You had a war going on. I mean, I would hate to be an adolescent in the 60s. You were getting drafted into a war that you were coming home in body bags. They had it worse than this generation.
Well, wait, something? It's all, bad is bad, and there are different kinds of bad. And I agree with you. That was horrible. The fact that people had to go over and be used as cannon fodder in a war that made no sense at all, that we finally lost. And I went on the air here in New York, and I said, we're leaving Vietnam. How do you feel about the fact that your kid died for nothing? Yeah. And because we can't just suddenly say, oh, let's honor the 58,000 dead Vietnam vets. You have to say, What a waste of human beings. You know, and I know it's hard to say that to a parent, but that's the way you put a price on the war and what it cost you. So it had its own horrible moments. But these kids tomorrow are going to have to face gasping for air, okay, because of what we didn't do today. And that's what these kids are saying, and I really appreciate it.
They're going to be looking for clean water, too. No water to drink.
Well, you know, there are parts of this world right now where water is, there's a price on water. You know, and if you, and in these parts of the world, companies who deal in the water, if it's raining and you put a bucket out and catch water in the bucket, they will sue you or have you thrown in jail.
Yeah.
For taking the water that's coming down from the clouds. You know, that's something that's been going on for quite a while now, and you know we don't do enough yelling and screaming about. But that's happening in South America, so it's like a world away. You know, but I just think that. That you know we need to do that. We need to limit how much money people can pay. I mean, I wouldn't mind paying a little more taxes if it went to a fund to finance people who were running for office and they couldn't spend any money they got anywhere else but from this fund. Here, you've got $100 million to run your campaign, and you've got $100 million to run yours, and you've got $100 million to run yours, and that's it. You know. It comes out of a slush fund, and you can't go around trying to get people to bankroll your campaign so that later on you're going to do something nice for them.
Yep.
You know, we need a lot of reforms, and I don't think we're going to see them because it's not in the best interest of the power politic.
No.
They like the way they're being elected. You know, I got to tell you, this is this strange kind of change in the tale. But when I was first to start out in radio, we had a thing called ratings. And when you got a ratings book, you either won or you lost. And money was made and lost on ratings. I mean, people don't understand that ratings were never used to say who's the best show in town. No, ratings were used to establish the price of advertising on a particular radio station based on cost per thousand. All right? Well, you know, that being the case, we for the longest time felt that, well, that was the best thing we got. But then one day they came out with a thing called people meters, and this was something people put on their belt, and it simply listen to a signal coming out of your radio, and it could tell what you were listening to at any given moment, and you didn't write in a diary, which was a very bad method of finding out what people were listening to. And so the whole thing changed, and stations that were once number one, I can name one, KGO in San Francisco, was a radio station that for 35 years was number one. The minute the people meters came out, they went down to number 20. Okay? Because all of a sudden, we knew what people really were listening to. Okay? Well, the same is true about how people are being elected today. They're being elected by a bunch of standards which are kind of questionable. And if we change all that, they're going to have to learn that the guy who you thought was number one and had all the votes from his area really didn't have the hearts of his area. You know, and that we've got to change the way we do business. We've got to stop the money infusion into politics and pay for it ourselves and give the people some money, and here's $100,000. Go out and you can blow it on saltwater taffy if you want to, but that's the money you're getting for your campaign. And maybe we'd have some kind of honesty in politics going on. Yes, Tom.
Well, one reform that I support, and we've got it going on in Berkeley, they just started last year in all state of Maine.
Yeah,
it's called ranked choice voting, and I think it really would make it a lot easier for candidates to connect with voters, so that this thing of the lesser of two evils no longer comes into play. If you've got an opportunity to select your ranked choice of 3 different candidates, you could say, well, I really love this person, but I don't think that person can win. But if I make that person my first choice, I can make this other person my second choice who has a better shot at it. So I'm not throwing my vote away.
That I've heard that theory that we take the 3 people and then you average something out and then one of the people wins, and it may not be the person who got the well. Anyway,
yeah, it's also known as instant runoff voting. Yeah. So in a way, that's also a way to replace what's called a primary, so that the lowest the candidate with the lowest amount of votes, they're eliminated, and then that person's votes get redistributed up to other candidates. Either
that, or how about just has
over 50%.
How about just a situation where you have a bunch of people vote, and then the top people, if nobody gets 50%, then you take the top people, the top 3 people, or top 2 people, and you have them run against each other.
This is what we have in California right now. For the whole state, we have the top 2. So in the primary,
and I think it was a while back, wasn't it? 2 Democrats running against each other.
We've had we've had our last 2 Senate races where we've had 2 Democrats running against each other. Yes. So all the candidates, regardless of party, are listed on the ballot, and everybody votes, and the top 2 go on to the general election, and then the winner of that becomes
any of these ideas are good, and they also have some negatives too. Josh, do you see any negatives in that particular system? I mean, he's turning his mic on.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
I've had this really bad cough, so I've been muting the mic. Negatives in that, I don't think so. I mean, especially as far as runoffs and stuff go. I mean, like he said, it's kind of more of an instant way to, so it's a time saver there. And, if you save time, you save money.
And save money.
I mean, obviously, I've always thought that's a little odd, so many of these, special elections, and then they run them, they turn around and basically have like the same exact election, 6 or 8 weeks later. So they just continue to spend, as you said, outrageous amounts of money for, 6 or 8 more weeks. And I think most of the time the outcome ends up, the same or whatever. I mean, we had one of those right here outside of Columbus, Ohio, not that long ago with that Pat T. Berry and someone else running for Congress, and it was really close, and then another runoff, and then it turned out to be the same, and, for an open congressional seat, and they spent, outrageous amounts of money. I mean, just for a congressional seat. I mean, it wasn't even, a huge power seat. Just a typical, one congressman. And I can't even remember the number, but it was obviously in the millions and millions of dollars between the 2 campaigns. I mean, that's ridiculous for a House seat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But the question is, we're sitting here talking about all of this, but what's it going to take to change things? And that's the big question here.
I don't know. And the other element of the,
because we're going to keep saying that we're going to keep saying this, and it's only going to get worse and worse. When you think that people went out and we talked about gerrymandering, where they took a district and they managed to make curves and little dips and dives in it to make it into a more Republican area or something like that. The fact that they could do gerrymandering alone says the whole system sucks and is wrong. If you can wind up doing that, what else can they do? And they're going to keep doing it as long as they can get away with it. And so consequently, yes, the KGO that was number 1 and finally was number 20, if we shone the light of reality on the elections, we'd see who really was popular. Yes, Tom?
Well, what needs to happen is people need to realize that their state legislatures and their state governors are important, and they need to vote in those elections, because when they don't, then somebody else gets in controls and does the redistricting. So people are finally waking up to that. I mean, that's the good news. That's as good a news from the last election, the 2018 election, as the retaking of the House, is the Democrats retook over a number of state legislatures. And that's going to be really important for redistricting in 2020.
Now, do you think that
and governors?
Do you think, and governors too, do you think that was a result of the dissatisfaction of Donald Trump? Do you think that has an indication of what might go on in 2020? And now my question, and the big one is, we know the Democrats are going to fuck it up. How are they going to fuck it up? Because,
I'm not going to assume that.
Because if I saw Donald Trump and the way he's been reacting, say, in just the last couple of days, being, with what was it, something like 50 tweets over the weekend? And they're insane, and they're ramblings, and they're things that he shouldn't even be caring about. Thank you very much, Mickey. I'm trying to put my watch on, and I hit Mickey Mouse. Anyway, you would think that just that pure action alone would have the American public say, "We can't vote for this guy again. This guy's crazy." I may be a Republican, but I can't vote for him.
Well, I mean, he visited Ohio today, and prior to the visit, last night, I read an article in the Cincinnati Enquirer, that basically said, Trump's visiting Ohio, but does Ohio still love him? And the answer was no. The latest polling indicates that he's down in Ohio, and I don't remember the number, but it's like 11 or 12 points from what he received in the election, which is quite a lot. I mean, it's an amount that if it holds, he's not going to win the state. And without Ohio, he's probably not going to win, re-election.
Okay, let's talk about what I just said. That, it's kind of like somebody, I think it was Joe Garagiola once said, the great thing about the Mets was that you knew when a high fly went up, somebody was not going to catch it, but the big thrill was to figure out who. My question here is about the same. We know that the Democrats are capable of picking the wrong person. We certainly did it last time, okay? And we could do it again. Who is the wrong person of all the field we have out there? Who are some of the wrong people?
There's too many out there right now.
What were you saying, Jeff?
Joe.
Joe.
Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Would you agree, Vernon? Yeah.
He's leading in the polls right now, but he is the second oldest of the candidates, Bernie Sanders being the oldest.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, my question is, do you think, number one, I guess Biden's going to go for it, but I think he's in for a big surprise. He certainly doesn't have the money the other guys do right now. And again,
as much as I like Biden, I don't think he's gonna make it. I like the guy, but I think he's past his time.
I think he's past. I think he's past his time.
He's smart, but it's just a long time for him to go.
How old is he now?
78, 77?
He was born in 1942.
Okay.
No.
Okay, now we got to do math.
Okay, 1942. Well, I was born in 1949, so he's 76 probably.
Okay.
And how old is Trump right now?
Real
72.
or in his
72?
mind?
Yeah.
Really, he's what? Yeah, but his mind is about 88, 90.
Or it's 8.
Well, yeah.
Or it's 8. What, Tony?
I don't want to sound like an ageist, but should there be an age limit how old you can be for the president, just for health reasons?
I think so.
There is.
No, there is.
You have to be so many, 40 years at least?
Yeah, but
I'm
you have to be,
talking about
no, you have to be 35.
Like
35.
say 75 or more.
You could be you could be 92 and run for president.
I know we can get sick at any age,
and
but
you know,
I mean,
I don't want to be ageist, but since I'm 79, I have the right to.
I don't go to work now. Can you imagine being the president at 78?
I have a right to be. I think that even at my age, if I think about, could I have been president, say at 78, okay, or 77? And you got to remember, I think he's going to be 78 when the election takes place. Okay,
that's
when I think about how I felt at 78 and the kind of vigor I had and so on. I think about it now. I'm 1 year later than that. I'm not that certain I could be president. You know. I think that it's a job for a younger person. It's a job for a person who has, all his faculties going for him. Mine are waning. I know that. At my age, I know that it happens to me. Huh?
Because I'm looking at it now. I'm not trying to make a joke of it. I don't want to go to work now. Can you imagine having to go to work at that type of job at 75? Is it more of an ego thing? Like, I got to get my name, I got to be out there. Just step away already. You want to mug for the camera still?
Well, I agree with you, Tony. I mean, does anybody disagree that Joe Biden's too old for this?
I don't think he's too old. No.
You don't?
No,
Okay.
I'm in the extreme minority here, apparently. Because
you've got another person with you, Josh. I don't think he's too old either.
Not only do I not think he's too old, I personally think that just living in the area that I live in and knowing the people that are going to swing the election like I do from an area like this, I think he's the only person they're going to run that's not going to turn independent people off. Because I think Democrats, if they run someone that we would all love, I agree that we would love, the Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren types and everything because, we're kind of ultra-left people. But we're going to vote for the Democratic nominee no matter what. I think the party has to find someone that's going to get other people to vote, for that nominee. And I just think that if we start hearing a lot of talk about things that we might agree with, like Democrats have been ginning this thing up the last few days about the Electoral College. And I'm not even going to say whether I like it or whether I don't like it. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to say if that becomes a big issue during the general election, it's just going to play right into Trump's hands and let him run around and say, see, they just want to change because I want. And it's like, and it's a non-issue to me. It's not, I mean, it's just a. Democrats are really good about, like you said, fucking up and focusing on stuff like that. And I just think if they focus on the Electoral College and let's break up Google and those kinds of things, it's going to turn people off that live in the blue-collar, working-class areas like I live that really don't care about that. They're going to go right back to Trump where they were. And I think Biden is the only guy that they're going to run that would have enough sense to realize that. I think the Beto O'Rourke's and all the rest of them are going to just run to the left because they think that's their time. And I mean, hey, if I'm wrong, I'm just saying that's what I think.
I mean, don't you think that some of the voters in the last election that didn't have a big preference for Hillary and may have jumped the ship and gone over to Trump just because they wanted to see a change?
Yeah.
And there was a lot of voters that did that. And that could happen again, just because of that.
Or they stayed at home.
But, there was a lot, when you saw after the election and all this stuff happened and Trump was in office, there was a lot of interviews that went on that showed that there was Democrats that said, you know what, I wasn't convinced that Hillary was going to do a good job. So I just said, I'm going to take a chance on Trump.
Right, but I don't think that Joe Biden would turn people off in the way.
No, that's the point.
Because I think he's a hell of a lot more, likable type of guy. And I tell you what, I heard something yesterday that basically said they think maybe the reason that his announcement has taken so long and has been delayed. And this is a really interesting concept because no one's really tried to do it yet. is because they think he might want to announce, and at the time that he announces, already align himself with a vice presidential candidate and say, this is the ticket that I'm going to run. And the rumored person to be was Stacey Abrams, who ran, for governor down there in Georgia, a black woman.
Yeah. Oh, I knew.
I don't know. Yeah. When I first heard it, my eyebrows perked up. That might be kind of an ingenious.
No, I knew what I was going to say. That a lot of these earlier, and then I forgot because I got all wrapped up in my rhetoric. All these people on these shows on MSNBC are talking about, well, he really should have a woman or a black man or a black woman, and blah 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 blah. And I stopped to think about it, and I said, I am so non-racist and so non-misogynistic that, quite frankly, I just want to see the best person running as the vice presidential candidate. Yeah. And by the way, as long as we're talking about that, are you really saying that we're going to go with another white male as a candidate? I mean, there are women running here, So why all this discussion about asking somebody, like a candidate, well, who would you put on your team? Who would you make your vice president? Would it be a woman or a black person? Well, I certainly would consider that. Don't even ask that. You want the best person, and if the best person is white and you happen to be white, then that should be the person who you have as your second person. That's not saying, oh, we've got to balance it all out, or we've got to have a woman as president.
Yeah, if it works out that way, great.
We already had a black guy as president. We broke a certain barrier there, but you don't sit down and then he had as his vice president the whitest man in America, Joe Biden.
He's pretty white.
Yes, Tom. Yes, Tom.
So I agree. Yeah, we definitely should find the best person, and the way that we're going to do that is through the primaries. It's through the debates.
Here we go, the primaries.
Yeah. And that's how we're going to. I don't know who the first person is. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at the candidates. I'm willing to let it play out and see. I mean, I think what we got to do is trust the process.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I mean,
I'm not going to rule out anybody. I'm not ruling out Biden. I'm not ruling out anybody. And I'll tell you this, as I said before, whoever the nominee is, I am going to work all I can to get that person elected.
Yeah.
Okay. And whatever it takes, I'm going to do that job.
Okay.
And if enough people do the same commitment, we can do it.
But again, we're getting away from the question I asked, so we haven't had an answer except somebody held out Biden. Who would be the one of all of these so far, or the two or three?
My answer.
Wait a minute.
Don't rule out anybody.
No, the two or three that perhaps would be the wrong person to run at this point.
Don't rule out anybody. And let people come in and mix things up and get involved.
You want me to rule out somebody? I'll rule out. I'll rule out the godsend of the
selection of candidates, and I want to be let the voters
I will
decide
rule out
who the person is.
I'm sorry, I got people I'll rule out. I rule out Biden. I think the only thing Biden could do is give Trump a run for his money, but we're even assuming that Donald Trump will be the nominee of the Republican Party.
Well, we're assuming a lot of things.
But I'm telling you, I'll tell you the one guy, the one guy,
now in November 2020,
the one guy that should move over to the side and say, I'm going to back whoever runs, and I'm going to be there for them, and I'm going to do whatever I can to make them win, is Bernie Sanders. I think he should get out of there. I think he's a spoiler, and I think he's going to hurt the chances of people who are.
But he's raised millions of dollars. He's got people that really support him. Why shut them up?
Why shut them up? Because they're wrong, and he can't win.
You're the ones going to determine that they are wrong.
Yes.
Hey, Alex.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get the magic 8-ball out.
Yeah, my magic 8-ball. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I rule a lot of people out already in my mind, and I'm agreeing with Tom. I mean, I'm going to let it play out. I'm not telling people you can't support that person. I mean, everyone's allowed to do, but I'm just saying there are people in my mind that, what I hear them, talk or speak, I don't have any sort of I mean, if they were on the ticket and the election were today and it were Trump or that person, obviously I would vote for that person. But I'm just saying, when I turn the TV on and Kamala Harris is talking, I just say, this is my excited face. You know,
yeah.
Look at it.
Well, this is my excited face. But anyway, the fact of the matter is that we have to think in terms of who can win. For instance, here's the thing with Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders entered this race because he was the voice of the left in the last election. Certainly Hillary wasn't. She was the voice of the moderates, okay? And so he got a lot of heat behind him. As he should have. But now he's got a bunch of people who've got ideas that are as progressive as his, if not more so. So he's not running in the same pack he was running before. You know, he's not the outsider any longer. You know, when you listen to Kamala Harris, when you listen to any one of the women who are running, even Elizabeth Warren, you're hearing women who are coming up with really strong ideas. You get a Cory Booker, he's got strong ideas. You know, and they're all kind of off to the side there. And while he says he's a socialist, and they don't say they're a socialist, they're acting more like socialists in many cases than Bernie Sanders is. So does he really have a chance? How does he look, given the fact that there's all these other people who are coming to the table with the same kind of lefty ideas that make me feel comfortable as Bernie Sanders did? Yeah. So
I don't think Bernie Sanders beats Donald Trump in a general election.
Oh, no.
I just don't feel it.
I don't think so either.
I mean, listen, I'm not the arbiter of all this stuff. I fucking can be wrong. I'm just saying, if you know, this is a show where people give their opinions, you know. I mean, so that's fine.
I heard an interview with Klobuchar the other day, and she's very good. I think she could hold her own in a general election. You know, there are a lot of people out there, but we still don't have that one. You know, the thing is, as I say, I've said this before, when I saw Barack Obama, I said, well, there he is. There's the stealth candidate, right? Had everything going for him. Good looks, spoke well, spoke incredibly well, was incredibly confident with the public, and it could beat just about anybody. I mean, he was that much of a stealth candidate, in my opinion. There isn't a stealth candidate here, at least one that appears to be. That, you know, I mean, Beto O'Rourke they keep talking about, but I can't see him. Okay, it just doesn't make sense.
Donny Osmond to me. I mean, he does. Every time I look at him, he looks like a phony.
Well, it doesn't make sense to me. I could see him running as a vice presidential candidate. You know, with whoever was running, that would be a nice. You know, he would be nice eye candy on the ticket.
Yeah, he looks
right?
like he's so
that you could run somebody a little ugly. You could run somebody a little more severe for president. You know what I'm saying? But how about the women? The women who are running. Any of them appeal to you?
I like Amy Klobuchar.
Yeah, I think she's very good, and I've heard what she has to say, and I like it. You know. She's in my camp. I think Kamala Harris is interesting. I think she. They're all trying to stake out their own little area. I think. Who was it? Was it Kamala Harris or was it Klobuchar? It said, it was Elizabeth Warren who wanted to go out after Facebook and.
Oh yeah, she
you know.
See, that's why I love her.
Yeah. Well, listen, I got to tell you something.
That's the Indian.
I would like to not like Elizabeth Warren, but whenever she talks about what she believes in, I don't have much of a problem with her. You know, the only problem is I don't think she's a winnable candidate because you got to be television ready today, and she's not.
Yeah, and it's going to be a lot about, you know, obviously, you know, the independent voter who may switch sides. I mean, we're all voting for the Democrat, you know. I mean, but it's just like, I can't really even explain it. But you know, like, My wife, for example, I mean, you know, she's just the same politically as I am, and she's going to vote for the nominee, etc. You know, Democratic-minded, never voted Republican or anything. And, I mean, I really don't know, but like Elizabeth Warren comes on TV and she's just like, oh, I can't do it. You know, she's like, I don't even want to, you know, she can't stand her, you know. So, I mean, it's like.
Well, no, but you know what it is? What it is, if you closed your eyes and listened to her, you'd say, not bad. She's smart, she's sharp, she's got some good ideas and so on. Then you look at her.
She created the consumer finance.
You look at her and you say, I don't want to have to look at this woman for 4 years. You know? I mean,
but she covered
my wife has the same.
For consumers that were cheated out of that money.
My wife has the same reaction as Josh's.
What's that?
Yeah. So
my wife has the same reaction as Josh's about Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah.
She scares me.
So if Elizabeth Warren can't get a woman's vote, who is she going to get?
She won't get Phil's, I'll tell you that.
No, she won't get Phil's.
Voted for by accident, you probably break the machine.
Here comes Tim at the last minute. He might think he probably thinks he's calling Jack. But hello, hello there, Tim. How are you?
Real good.
Yeah.
Been busy.
Yeah, you're busy.
Grandkids around. And
yeah.
Regular kids.
Yeah. What about you want to join in on what we were saying here?
Well, I agree with you, Elizabeth Warren. I've had her as soon as Trump won. I've had her on my Facebook and my Twitter as my cover page since Trump won the election.
Yeah.
She's smart. She can explain things like a teacher. But Buttigieg, or whatever his name is, he's a genius too.
Yeah. Now
I want to suggest, if we want to run the country like a corporation, think of a corporation. How many vice presidents do most corporations have? 4, 5, 6, maybe. I suggest we have the president and 2 vice presidents, one domestic, one for foreign affairs. And then you could have an old person like Biden. You could have a middle-aged person like Elizabeth Warren, and then you could throw in a young person like Buttigieg or whoever the other young candidates.
Well, Tim, you make a lot of sense. Wait a minute, you make a lot of sense from a corporate standpoint. And quite frankly. I don't know why we shouldn't treat the United States like a corporation. After all, I mean, it's called the United States of America. That could be the name of a corporation. If you think about it.
I was one of the 2 million employees for a long time. And it's too huge for anybody, and it's too huge for 2 people. And I think you could,
wait a minute. Hold on a second, Tim. Isn't that the reason we have a cabinet? That the president it relies on these people who know better than he does to man these various posts to deal with those problems. And the only person that I know of that hasn't paid attention to them is Trump. He thinks he knows it all.
But the cabinet doesn't have to stay. They're employees. They're not co-equal. So I really think it would make a difference having a vice president that has to stay the whole term and couldn't just, you couldn't just leave for some reason.
Well,
I think there needs to be a commitment.
I mean, I see what you're saying, and it doesn't. It's not like it doesn't make some kind of sense, But the way it doesn't make sense is you're never going to get anybody to go with you on this deal. That's the problem.
They want to do it with Electoral College. Do you think we could do that?
Well, I think it's going to be a rough go. I think long after I'm gone.
You can make it irrelevant, though.
He could make it irrelevant, but I think that if I were to come back here 100 years from now, there'd still be an Electoral College. Yeah. Yes, Jeff.
But now think about 20. Go ahead.
Jeff had his hand up here.
Yeah, so I've been brainstorming this idea myself a little bit, and I wonder if it's a good idea for a cabinet to start interviewing some of these people who want to become president. You know what? What would happen, Alex? You know how the world is. Do you think we could get somebody to come up here and and listen to us 10 people?
I'd probably get the Green Party candidate, and that's about the only person I could probably get. You know, the rest of them figure I'm too small a fish to even have anything to do with, you know.
Get Andrew Gillum to commit and before he announces, and then you got his commitments.
You think Andrew Gillum? You know, I saw him on the air the other day.
He's not.
But what a good looking guy to run for office. I mean, he's television ready. You know.
You don't think Mueller's going to run?
Mueller
wants to get done with the report.
Nah, Mueller's not going to run. If I were Mueller, I would want to get rid of this, finish this report off so I can get the fuck out of Dodge.
Yeah,
you know. I mean,
go to Europe and hide.
He's I'm sure had enough with people, you know, blasting him and saying things about him and so on, that he just wants to get it all taken care of and go home wherever home is.
Rosenstein's been in the seat longer, and they won't let him leave.
Well, he won't leave until the Mueller report is finished. So
yeah, I think Barr is I think he's a slow ship moving back toward the Democrats because he wants Rosenstein there. I think it was an eye-opener when Barr got to see everything.
Yeah, but today you had Trump saying that Barr was a really honest guy, and he knows that he will do what's right, and that he wants the Mueller report to come out, and he wants the public to see it, but it's up to Barr. And it's like Barr's in his fucking pocket.
He's already gotten a talking to.
Yeah, yeah. He's gotten that, are you loyal to me speech.
I think he's going to follow the rule of law, so...
Well, you know, who knows? You know, if he tries to stick with the rule of law, then I guess he'll get fired by.
But he helped pardon people when he was there before. So what's his name never got investigated.
Yeah, you know, I mean, all that's a moot point. I think that right now we have, and this is where we started tonight. We have a president who this weekend came unhinged.
How would you like to be at the Kellyanne's dinner tonight?
Oh, yeah. Well,
you know the deal between Kellyanne and George Conway, don't you?
What is it?
I'm sure they got a book deal just coming in the next month or so. They're working on a book deal. That's what this is. Look at the guy that worked with Clinton, it's not Mary Matlin, is it? Who is it?
James Carville and Mary Matlin. They were a feisty couple, and they have had a great marriage. Hey, listen, there's our theme rolling along here, indicating that I'm in a few moments here. I'm going to have to say goodbye to all of you. It's been a really nice night tonight. It just seems like something was missing that kind of enhanced this program. I don't know what it was, but once again, it's like I said before, I kind of feel like I went swimming in the lake naked, you know, and my balls were being cooled by the cool waters,
and I pee-pee shrank and everything.
Yeah, and I could even pee in the water. Yeah.
Hey, you got to do some commercials for some ED medicine now.
That's right. Hey, listen, let's all say goodnight. Charlie, thank you so much. Josh, been terrific. Vernon, always nice to have you here. Kevin, good to see that you're alive and well. Tom Yamaguchi, always love it when you're on. It's always a smart night.
New Zealand just banned all assault weapons.
Oh, yeah. Did they really? Let's get into that, by the way. People were independently turning their guns over. That was nice, too. Tony, thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Tony. And thank you, Tim, for your late call on our program. I think it would be nice if all of you were to wave a big wave goodbye. There we go. There they go. That's our citizen panel for tonight, and a fine citizen panel it was. Well, for all the technical problems that I had when we started out tonight, we certainly finished off the program on a fairly high note, and technologically, I think we're okay too. Listen, you know who's next? Of course, it's the Intersection with Jack Bishop tomorrow night, 9:30, Damian Chaplin promises me he'll be here with the Exchange, and then I'll be back again tomorrow night, same time, same station in life at 10 o'clock Eastern Time. And as always, if you see her, tell her I love her, okay? Bye-bye, everybody.